War Report coming live every Tuesday at 7 with Steve, Cat, Ryan, Amanda, and Eric. And the voice of NEW, Vince Berry. Hitting all the topics like a clothesline flurry. Turn up your speakers and hear them out. You can listen from your car, even on your couch. They too raw, who NXT? Handing out SmackDowns, follow on IG. Plus, it's sponsored by Tag Me a Date. Go to YouTube and sub now for every update. It's all wrestling here. No safe space, now listen in. Time to hear from some of the greats.
I'm all ready. I'm battle tested. This is the story of a fighter who's got nothing to lose. Battle tested. Next opponent he choose will be left broken and bruised. Just me and my crew, we battle tested. I'll live for everything and you know we'll wreck it. Let the first warrior stronger than me take a shot at coming here to try to brawl with me. I'm ready for war.
Welcome everybody to another edition of the War Report After Dark. Boy, do we have a lot to talk about. Figure start off with a little Bronson Reed action. We haven't really done his music, and
Right.
well, he'll be a part of what we talk about tonight when it comes to Raw. And I was telling Al right before we got on, you know, I usually like to typically go in order, right? And we'll start with SmackDown and go to Raw, but I can't do it tonight.
Yeah.
I can't do it tonight. Tonight we got to start with Monday Night Raw. It's fresh on the mind. Well, some shit went down. I want to start off by saying this. This quite possibly could have been the best Raw of the year. And I can honestly say, and I was even talking to Big Heck about it last night, this might be one of the best first 2 hours of a Raw that I've seen in a long time. Everything just seemed to flow right. Stories are starting to come together. Things are happening. I was entertained all 3 hours. I wasn't, oh, all right, well, we got more to go, this and that. You know, like we always say, 3 hours is too long. This 3 hours was great. I wasn't bored. I wasn't looking for it to end. I enjoyed it. I got to start with the biggest thing to happen on Raw. And we have to start with CM Punk. CM Punk comes out in an arena where it all started, which I actually didn't know. And he talked about how he made his debut.
That was interesting. I didn't know that either.
Right? I did not know that. I thought that was kind of cool. A great promo from Punk. And then Seth Rollins comes out. And this is what we've been waiting for, right? We've been waiting for this confrontation between these two. And this is after CM Punk announces that he is going to be a part of the Raw roster. And then Rollins comes out. The first part of this entire exchange that I loved, and this is something that you don't see often because there's not many wrestlers or matches that will do this. I had flashbacks to The Rock and Hogan, not comparing Rock and Hogan
Vince
to
said, "Oh Jesus."
Well, let me clarify. Hold on. Let me get this out because you'll understand what I'm saying.
Seth Rollins is the worst modern world champion, and I'm talking about guys like the Great Khali. But go on.
Oh my God.
That's a
Seth
little
Rollins-
hard. That's a little hard.
The great.
Hold on. The Great Khali. I mean,
all right. So I'll go past the Great Khali, John Morrison era. Since 2012, Seth Rollins has been the worst world champion. He's always booked like shit. He's booked like a coward. He doesn't really have a gimmick. He's never really had a gimmick. And he's not like he's got an annoying voice, and I don't think he's a good promo. But all of that,
as I was saying,
he's in the ring with the other complete opposite of that. The most interesting guy in the world is on the other side of the ring with him.
What I am comparing, not that.
Let me tell you something, brother. We're going to burn it down with the architect, brother.
Not that I am comparing the
Me and my architectomaniac,
The Rock and Hogan to Rollins and Punk. But what brought me back to when you had Hogan Rock, their first initial exchange was a stare down. Nobody said a fucking word for what felt like 20 minutes. It wasn't that long, but that's what it felt like. And the crowd told the story. Nobody had to say a fucking thing. And that's what it brought me back to. I enjoyed the stare down. Nobody said
Did you really get that out of that though? Like
In front of 100,000
did.
maniacs, brother.
I did, because this is a match, because of the realism behind it, that people want to see. And they had the stare down. I thought it was great. Rollins in his whiny voice, I'll give you that.
Thank you. At least give me that.
I'll give you that. What I enjoyed is that everything he said was real. This is a real situation. And we had a lot of realism on Raw last night. And I'll explain further as we go along. But there's real shit that was said. Punk said some things back, but Rollins, I mean, even when he talked about where don't ever fucking say you're home, we even said on this podcast, how can you sit there and say this is home after everything that you said in AEW a year ago? So I liked how real the exchange was. And I think it's going to be a great match when we get it. Obviously, we got to get through the first. Well, yeah, I mean, they're making it where Punk has to earn it, right? So he's going to enter the Rumble and see if he wins and kind of go from there. But I enjoyed that segment. I thought it was great. And then there were some other little things too backstage, like when Punk saw Kofi and said, "You're making me crazy," and he goes, "I don't do that anymore." That was a long time ago. You know, like little shit like that. I thought it was good. You guys, do you agree with that you enjoyed the segment, or you just are so fed up with Seth Rollins that no matter what, you can't enjoy the segment that we had?
I've enjoyed the two Seth Rollins matches I can remember enjoying in my life were the one where he surprise kicked Brock Lesnar in the balls at WrestleMania in New York, and then the one where he wrestled as Tyler Black in his last Ring of Honor match, and I think he lost to Roderick Strong. He does nothing for me, but I understand that going beyond him not doing anything for me, there is a history here between these two guys that goes really long. It's great that they're able to build on it. It's just weird to me that when Seth Rollins says real life stuff about CM Punk, it's okay. But if, you know, Hangman Page says something or Jungle Boy says something, suddenly it's like, where is there a line of like celebrity in wrestling that you need to be like? I just don't understand where the, he changed.
This is a new Punk.
Can I tell you, I hate the gaslighting by all these WWE fans that had 2 years to watch CM Punk wrestle in AEW and they didn't fucking do it. And now they just pretend like he's some conquering hero that didn't just punch 3 people in the face and get in 4 fights backstage and got fired. And they're treating him like he's goddamn Jesus Christ. It's the most pathetic, hypocritical thing I've ever seen from a fan base in my life. And it's also a pathetic reflection of CM Punk, who's now smiling backstage with Bailey and all these other bullshit people, where you can tell the last 2 years with AEW was him looking for a way to just get back to WWE. So the whole thing to me smacks of phony. It's the same thing with people cheering for Cody. They had 4 years to cheer for Cody when he was in AEW and 3 when he was in the Indies before that, and they didn't do it. Now he comes back and he's a big star. It's all bullshit. They're only good because they're on my team. If CM Punk went to Impact, they'd be talking about what a bum he is. But now he's on Raw and everybody's jerking him off. The whole thing's phony. Nobody's actually really excited. They're all doing it just because, oh, we got one over on AEW. Nobody really gives a shit.
Hey, Vin, why don't you tell me how you really feel?
I didn't. Don't worry.
Whoa, I think this is the most exciting I've seen you to date. That was pretty good. I like it.
He's a little fired up, but real quick.
Yes.
Message.
We have a breaking news alert from our good friend David Roscoe over at YouTube, who will face Seth Rollins for the World Heavyweight Champion at the Royal Rumble 2024. That's a great question. I can tell you it's not going to be CM Punk.
Here's the problem, David. I wonder that too, because you should have your world championships defended at the big four pay-per-views. I'm looking at you, Roman
Well,
Reigns.
now hold on a second. You can't say that Seth Rollins hasn't been a fighting champion.
No, he hasn't. But here's the thing: if he defends at the Royal Rumble, it's fine. But whoever he's facing is like, they're not going to win. If the story is to set up Punk at WrestleMania, then maybe don't do a title defense at Rumble and just say that the Rumble's there and that's prestige enough to be a main event. Like, I don't. What good would it be if, because Shinsuke's not going to do it with Cody? What good is it if you elevate a guy, middle upper card guy, a JD McDonough or a whatever, and then they lose? Like, who cares? Like, if the story is that we're waiting for Punk, wait for Punk. Don't give it another title match where everybody's rooting for the other guy to beat Seth Rollins and they're not going to beat him.
Yeah, whoever it is up to this point, unless it's Seth Rollins, CM Punk, I don't see nobody taking that title away from him. But again, they will have to fill in a gap in between Punk and in between Punk and the match, because they have to build for it, right? So I'm sure he's gonna have another match in between that.
He's gonna have to have challengers, sure, but like again, this
You just don't want another like Nakamura to go after him.
Actually, hold on. They announced, I think, that Drew McIntyre is now getting a shot at Rollins for the championship. So it's going to be McIntyre.
And then he'll lose and he'll go further down this spiral that he's going down.
Yes,
right. Which doesn't help him whatsoever.
No.
No.
But, I mean, you could say the same thing about Shinsuke Nakamura. Another, I want to point out, too, that he had a match last night with Cody in the main event of Raw. The package they put together of Shinsuke prior with another promo with the subtitles and everything, I can't get enough of it. It was great. And then it turned into almost like a comic book type of thing and this and that.
Awesome.
And it's awesome, except Shinsuke's going to lose.
Right.
But it was a great match. And then it went on after with more mist and the attack and left Cody down, and so I'm good with that.
It extends the feud out.
Right.
Here's the thing, I think, and this is it's not even a very big criticism. It's just a philosophy that's different right now. Back in the day, because there was only, like, if you think back to the 80s, and even the 90s, there was only really the world title, the Intercontinental Championship, and then maybe you'd have something like the European title kicking around. But there was only one very major title and then one secondary title that would go to the B towns. Everybody else had to have a story. And I think I mentioned it last week, where, like, Earthquake squashed Damien, or you get sprayed in the eyes with arrogance, or like, Al Snow you stole Al Snow's dog Pepper and fed it to him. Like, and I'm not saying we need to go to that extreme, but what I'm saying is, everybody right now, it seems like the reason there's a log jam in the main event scene of WrestleMania is that everybody's vying for two titles, one of which is never defended. So everybody's gunning for this same little group of titles, and there's only so many main events. There's only so many pay-per-views. There's only so many times you can have somebody challenge for a world title before it becomes, oh, look, like Drew. Oh, look, he's challenging again and he's not going to win, so the crowd isn't behind him. Why can't it be like fucking Damian Priest stole Drew's motorcycle and then they got to have a fucking junkyard match? And like, I don't know, man. Like, I just want them to have stories other than everybody's thing is, I really want the world title, but a lot of them aren't going to get it. So why don't we have a story of, like, somebody cheated on their girlfriend or whatever the fuck, man? Like things we used to have back in the day. Why it's too. Everybody's focused on one title, whether it's Seth or Roman's, and then there's not really much play outside of that. Like, I feel like the orbit is all going one way, but that was never the case. When Hogan was feuding with somebody, he'd feud with them and the people that were in their circle, and then everybody else would have to find some other shit to do. Like, it just seems like everybody's constantly cycling in and out of this main event, whether it's Judgment Day or whether it's Drew or whether it's Seth or Nakamura or whoever. They're just pumping these guys in, and I don't know if it's doing them any good, because, like, I can't say Damian Priest is any better than he was when he won the money, any more over than he was when he won the Money in the Bank a year ago. I can't say Drew McIntyre's any more over than he was a year ago at Clash of the Castle. It just feels like
I think a big part of the problem too is when we talk about Mania, I don't think they know which way they're going yet. I think they have a bunch of ideas, but I don't think they really know, because I think there's still hope that The Rock is going to be there. So if they don't know already,
are you serious?
I'm very serious.
The Rock.
Listen, I think that there's still a chance that, there have been interviews recently with The Rock saying that if it's right, he's available. So they may know already that he is, or they may be in a situation where they really don't know yet. So they're keeping options open. And maybe that's part of the, We have another comment from our good friend over at YouTube, David Rosca. The Elimination Chamber pay-per-view should be held in Montreal, Quebec next year, not in Australia. Okay. Sure.
Lance Storm would agree.
Lance Storm would agree. That's true. Speaking of Judgment Day, great segment with R-Truth.
This is what I'm talking about. They got something to do that's not the world title. I kind of like anything with R-Truth is instantly over with me, but it's like interesting that they're also giving a wrinkle of comedy and silliness to this very serious group. So this is what I'm talking about, having something else that's not the world title focus. I like that.
Well, and I will tell you this, and I got jumped on a little bit last time I said it, and I'm feeling stronger about it. I think there's a very good chance the Creed brothers are walking out your tag team champions.
Really?
I really do. I think they're taking down Judgment Day. I do.
I honestly forgot they were the tag team champions. So sure.
Well, what does that tell you? I mean, we have 2 title matches next week. We have the tag titles are on the line, and we have there's another title on the line. The women's tag titles are on the line. Katana and the other one that dances, I forget their name.
Right.
They're challenging Piper Nivens and what's her face? Chelsea. Yeah. So I think they have to. I think one of those championships are changing hands, and I think they're very high on Chelsea Green right now. So I don't see them losing. I think Judgment Day might actually lose those belts. I do.
And I might tell a better story because which actually hold the tag belts right now, or do they all kind of collectively freebird the title?
No, it's Finn Balor and Damian Priest.
It's so fucking.
It would be cool. It will be cool to freebird it though, because what's their name? New Day used to do that.
Yeah, and even like Jake,
yes,
you could have a story of like JD McDonough steps in to do it, and then they almost lose, and it's almost his fault, but they managed to win, and yeah, they could have done some stuff like that.
R-Truth was great. He has all these suggestions for Judgment Day. The first one is they should fire JD.
That's great. Yeah,
like that.
And replace him with R-Truth.
Yeah. Well, R-Truth thought he was already a part of Judgment Day, which is great on its own. Okay, so this will be a little controversial, I'm sure, but a great promo between Nia Jax and Becky Lynch. Another one where realism came into play. Becky actually, talked about the fact that Nia Jax hurts everybody that she's ever been in the ring with. But Nia's responses were great. I thought the promo exchange was great. Now let's see how the match is when it happens.
Yeah.
But,
that was a good promo. That's another one of those that you said that had that like aura to it.
Yep.
Like in regards to another one that it's like they gave us another story that we're gonna
5 years in the making.
Well,
right.
Man, it's weird. It's weird that it took that long to resolve that.
Well,
they go back to them.
But they broke that down, right?
Mm.
Nia breaks Becky's nose. That's what starts the man era and what, Nia claims made her famous, right? Then Becky got pregnant. She's out.
Right.
Then Nia gets fired. Becky comes back. Now Nia's back. It's been 5
Forgot she
years.
got fired.
But it's great because WWE, they're always good at reminding you of what they want you to know. So they went back 5 years and where it all started with the broken nose, and they slow-moed the punch to the face and this and that. And it got people to remember, and Nia played it right. Like, you need this more than I do, because as far as I'm concerned, I'm the one that made you famous, and Becky wants to rewrite that story. So it's a great story in itself, and the promo exchange was great.
Yeah, it's
And
very,
then the
very,
bell
very
rang.
well put.
Well, listen, we were impressed with Nia Jax, Shayna Baszler.
Yeah, we'll see, man. I mean, maybe she can step it. Maybe the getting fired thing and having to come back and kind of prove something is gonna lit a fire under her. I mean, I know she already has dropped a number of pounds. Like, she's looking a lot slimmer than she used to in her first run. So
She lost a lot of weight.
that can only help. That can only help us. Trying to move and do a lot of cardio and do a lot of wrestling moves and stuff. The lighter you are, the easier it is to do that shit. So good on her for losing that weight. And yeah, here's the thing. She only really needs to get to like a 5 out of 10, Nia, in this match. Because Becky's already good and the crowd is already behind Becky. Nia just needs to bring it and be just be serviceable. Let's aim for serviceable. If she can just go in and take the bumps that she needs to take and make sure nobody gets injured, great. Right. But I do think, now that I say it out loud, can I tell I won't tell me if you're thinking of this now, Steve. They're going to, because they've referenced it already, there's going to be a point in the match where Nia Jax elbows Becky in the face, and they do the stop the match, throw up the X. The doctor comes in, cleans up the blood, sees if she's okay to continue thing.
I could see that, or I could see Nia blatantly goes to do it again and gets caught in the Becky Lynch arm submission or whatever. Right. But I could definitely see that coming, like
being referenced.
Nia will actively go to hit it again purposely. You know what I mean? Whereas last time it was obviously an accident, but
yeah.
I could see that happening more. She tries it again and fails at it.
And gets caught because
gets caught in the middle of
they try to avoid blood if they can.
Yeah, that's true.
Speaking
of injuries and the women's division,
we got to talk about Claire.
Charlotte down for the count right now.
This is not good. This is not good. There's a very good chance she's not even going to be back for Mania. This is a serious injury, and there was a fan who was there live. The injury really happened during commercial break, but he posted it on TikTok because he was there. He was almost ringside. So great close-up video, and it was a botched move off the top rope with the two of them, and Charlotte's leg got caught in the rope, and you could see the leg snap on the rope. Whoa. And she went down, and then you can read her lips, and she says, my knee, oh shit. And that's when I knew it was the real deal, because I could see her say, oh shit, it's not, story. That's why they had to stop. You really take it home, immediately.
Oof. Yeah, that's tough, because knee injuries, any kind of knee injury is not good, especially for an athlete who has a deadline of an important match or an important sporting event, whatever sport it might be.
4 months ain't going to be enough time.
No, if it's so. Having gone through this, and not that I'm a superior athlete, I'm not. I just happen to know about it because it happened to me. The MCL and the meniscus, which are on the outside of the knee, if those are partially torn, those can actually regrow and reconnect themselves without surgery. Or you can go in and get them scraped or cleaned off, because basically they're very hard ligaments, where a lot of the pain that happens if there's like a partial tear in them is that there's jagged edges, and those are kind of poking you on the inside, and that's why they go in and clean it up so there's not pain in your knee. But then because there is still a connection there, it's fine. It can grow back. That still takes 2 months at least of recovery time, probably. If it's a minor cleanup like that, if they just go in and scope it, obviously for something with that's that is an ACL or a PCL. The ACL is anterior to the front, the PCL is posterior to the back of the knee. So just imagine your kneecap. There's one ligament in the front and there's one ligament in the back. What the front is the ACL, the back is the PCL. If one of either of those, if those get torn, even partially, that is like a minimum of 6 months for a regular person. Maybe if you're John Cena, you can get back in 3 or 4 months. Not that I'm saying Charlotte couldn't do it, but anything that's a cruciate ligament, whether it's the ACL or PCL, is going to be, you would be pushing it to be not off crutches necessarily, but to be walking to the ring by WrestleMania based on that injury. Not even performing, just being able to walk down the ramp.
To be clear,
though,
we do not have confirmation exactly what the injury is. We know it's a knee injury. We don't know the extent yet. They haven't been public about it yet, but based on what I saw, I have my reservations on how soon she's going to be back. So hopefully we'll hear more soon, and we wish her nothing but the best. She is the queen. And
especially coming back, like she just feels like she just came back and now she's injured.
She did.
Like how recently? What was it? A month, 2 months? Like how long ago was she? How long has she been back?
I think it's been more than a month, but I don't think it's been more than 2. So yeah, I mean, it's recent because she came back, then she left again for a little bit. You know what I mean? So, we wish her nothing but the best. Speedy recovery. And we'll keep you guys posted, as we hear more, we'll post it on social media, and we'll obviously talk about it here on the show.
Now, my question is this now, though. What does that do to the women's division?
Well, it hurts.
Forward to, build up to Royal Rumble, because I'm sure they had a certain spot for Flair. She was going to be one of the main event featured night.
I will say this. You're going to need somebody to fill that position, right? And there have been rumors. And what a better time than the Rumble. But maybe now is when you do whatever you got to do to bring back Sasha Banks.
Yeah, could be.
You know what I mean? And then there's a lot you can do there because Bayley is about to have her hands full with Damage Control, and it would be great to have her bestie back to help her. So there is story there. From what I understand, what Sasha's asking for is a lot of money.
Really?
So that's what I'm hearing, which doesn't surprise me. But
she can go, hey, CM Punk just asked for a lot of money too. I'm worth just as much as CM Punk. Like she has that. Yeah. She has leverage. She is outside the only free agent in the women's division right now that if you signed would A, be a big money contract, and B, be an instant big deal, whether whoever it was. Because when New Japan signed her, it was a big deal. If she went to Impact or TNA right now, it would be a big deal. If she went to AEW, it would be a big deal. If she went to WWE, it'd be a big deal. So she's now that she's healthy and she's back, she's coming back from injury.
Well, Vince, she's smart. She left.
Yeah.
She left.
Right. I think anybody that's in NXT right now should just quit and try and come back in like 3 years.
Well, right. I mean, that's just it. She left. She left purposely so that her stock goes up. Yeah, I can't imagine that she never had intention of coming back to WWE.
No, I think she still
for sure.
Has more the injury.
She bet it on herself.
Right. That's word.
She bet it on herself. She said, did. You know what? I'm worth X and you're going to pay me eventually.
Yep.
And
even if it takes me having to leave and come back.
Yep. And we're here now.
I think we're there all day then.
All right, we have another comment from David Roscoe over at YouTube. Io Sky versus Bianca Belair for the WWE Women's Champion at the Royal Rumble. I could see it, and I could definitely get behind it. I could also see Bayley costing Io, even if it's accidentally. And that's how we officially get her out. David Roscoe also says, if not, Bianca Belair will win the Women's Rumble. That's a safe bet also, but we don't know yet who else is going to be in this women's rumble,
No.
and who might actually surprise us. Like I
Trish
said,
Stratus.
like Trish Stratus, like Sasha Banks, like I don't know, maybe Jade Cargill makes a
Right.
debut.
be a
So
great one.
right, I mean, so there's a lot of things that could potentially happen here. We have a Facebook user. Hey, I am here. I assume that's Tara. So if so, hey Tara, welcome to the show. Yeah, so we'll have to wait and see. It's going to be interesting to see what happens with the women and the Royal Rumble. Going back to Monday Night Raw, we also had a 6-man tag with Gunther and Imperium versus DIY and The Miz in
That's
Cleveland.
a weird team.
It is,
it's a Cleveland team. Okay,
it's a Cleveland thing. So Miz is Cleveland. Miz got the pin and got over, and is now officially been granted a rematch for the IC title, with the stipulation that if and when Gunther beats him, he is never allowed to challenge for the IC title again as long as he is champion. So that match will be happening, I would imagine, at the Rumble, unless they do it on a future SmackDown.
Are they doing this? Are they doing this? Are they putting the Miz over? Is the Miz the one that ends Gunther's reign?
No.
You know what? Part of me says, part of me says I can't see it happening. The other part of me says they are giving him the rematch. And does he lose again? I don't know. Or does something fugazi happen? Like what? Maybe an Imperium member cost Gunther by accident. Even though they're never at ringside in a championship match. I don't know. I don't know. Can I see? I don't know, Vince. I would like to think that it's not the Miz.
I would like to think that as well, dude. But you never know.
But the Miz is
The Miz
is a Hall of Famer at this point. He's done it all. He's done Triple Crown twice now, right? I mean, who else can say that? So, married to Maurice.
Like two-time WWE World Champion, right?
Yeah. Against guys like The Rock and John Cena and Jericho. Like, we're not talking about fucking, Ricochet and no offense on Ricochet, but you know what I'm trying to say.
Oh,
so,
my God.
But listen, and never say never in the WWE, right? That's what they say. So we'll see. I mean, Punk is coming out wearing a shirt that says Hell Froze over. Whoever, you just never know. Also, we had round 2 of Ivar versus Bronson Reed, which I got to tell you, that match was entertaining as hell. There's nothing better than watching 2 300-pound plus guys just fight. I mean, at one point, they're both outside staring at each other, and they come running around, and they both do a crossbody to the outside on each other. Like, the match ends with a superplex off the top rope, but it's...
They should have had the ring break.
Oh, my God, dude, the ring shifted. Like, it was crazy. There were some great spots, and it wasn't a long match. It didn't need to be. And this feud will continue. And I was glad to see Bronson finally get over, because I feel like that hasn't happened much.
I don't know why they stopped. They were pushing him at a point.
I heard something, and again, I don't know how true it is, but I had heard that they were pushing him, and then he started pissing people off backstage. And they punished him by slowing him down, and now they're going back in. So who the hell knows? But Bronson is a guy I like Bronson a lot. I like him. I do. I hope I hope he continues. I think that was pretty much most of Raw. Is there anything Al missing, or Vince? Anything you guys got?
No, because you mentioned the main event earlier, so the thing with Cody.
It was a good match. It was a good match. It is what it is. It's it's kind of what we expected. But what bothers me too now is that it's obviously going to continue because of what Shinsuke did after.
Right.
So Shinsuke is going to lose again.
When's the Royal Rumble? Is it in January or February?
January
The end of
20
January,
something.
right? Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
January
so-
23rd, I think. They just looked it up.
So they got more than a month to because you can't, unless they're also going to be in the Rumble. You can't have Cody and Nakamura wrestle in a singles match unless they like wrestle opening the night at like first, and then the Rumble goes on later. You got to just blow the, you got to draw this
There's
out.
no way that they're not going to have a match before the Rumble.
Oh
Yeah.
no, that's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking it's going to be like the Monday, like the go home before.
But can Shinsuke
Rumble.
actually get a win over Cody at the next fight? Because it could still then lead into the Rumble. I mean, Shinsuke's got to win a fucking match.
But it's nice to think, but I don't think it's unless he like missed Cody in the face during a match and the referee doesn't see it or something. Like I don't. It just. Doesn't
I don't give a shit if he
like
misses him, if he grabs his balls and rips him off. I don't give a shit what. I just want to see Shinsuke fucking get a win. This is the best version of Shinsuke we've ever seen.
The other guy hasn't lost a match in 2 years. So like you got two guys, one guy hasn't won a match in 2 years, and the other guy hasn't lost a match in 2 years. Unless this is the story that they're telling is like this guy finally gets one over on him and pulls a fast one and actually wins and has a reversal of fortune. I don't know.
Shinsuke needs a fucking victory.
Oh, I agree
100%.
Sure. But
That's why
he's just picking on big dogs, man. That's the problem.
He could have beat Rollins though. Like Rollins would have.
You know what I want to see next? I want to see Shinsuke go try and kill Gable. Because at least Shinsuke could win. You know what I mean? Like, what the fuck? Put him up against R-Truth.
I would like to see that.
It would actually be a very good match, quite honestly.
Very good.
Yeah.
That would be awesome.
They got to do something, man. It's not fair. All right. Well, I guess that's pretty much Raw. What do you guys want to talk about? We have SmackDown. SmackDown. Punk was at SmackDown. He said, "I'll make my decision at Raw," which he did. Trying to remember SmackDown. It was so long ago already. Trying to think if anything stuck out.
Reigns didn't show up. He's scheduled for this week, right?
Yes. Roman Reigns will be returning to restore order within the bloodline.
Oh my God.
So we will see how this goes and see if maybe Punk's on Raw now. So I guess we're not going to see a confrontation with Roman.
Or Heyman.
Yeah. That was
that's coming though.
Well, especially after CM Punk told Roman Reigns that he's the original Paul Heyman guy, which is nothing farther from the truth. So they've planted those seeds. But I'm trying to think.
Yeah, now he's on Raw.
Now he's on Raw.
Cody has to pray that The Rock and CM Punk both get diarrhea sometime in mid-March. You know what I mean? He just has to hope that one of them just slips in the shower and breaks their leg. Like
that's funny.
He has to just hope upon hope that one of them loses a foot to diabetes or something in the next 2 months.
Jesus Christ.
He wants to finish the story, and there's so many other people in the way.
Well, we have Cody that wants to finish a story. We have Shinsuke that wants to finish a story. We have Punk now that wants to finish a story. We have Roman Reigns who's gone missing. I mean,
all 11 of his matches this year have been missing, by the way.
And
not that you're keeping score or anything.
Not that I'm keeping score.
but less than once a month, come on. But even if he some of the problem I have with it is, the world champion never really wrestled on free TV. First of all, bullshit. The world champion wrestled on free TV all the fucking time. He just wrestled jabronis and it didn't matter.
Right.
Hogan wrestled all the fucking time on free TV because that's what people tuned in to see.
He didn't defend the belt, but he wrestled all the time.
Right, and if he,
He
didn't
defended
wrestle,
the belt in pay-per-views.
and if he
But
didn't
see,
wrestle, he was on.
But
He was
that's
on
the
Piper's
thing.
Pit.
We
He was
don't
on the,
even
you know,
need Roman to wrestle.
He just needs to
Just
be there.
just be there with the title and cut promos and attack people every now and then or whatever. Just
Show that you
be
care.
there. Right.
Show
you
that
don't
you
need to
care.
wrestle. I'm okay wrestling once every few months at a big pay-per-view. Okay, if we're going to forget about the 30-day no-compete clause at this point, it is what
Right.
it is. But be there. Be there with Heyman.
Now,
Like,
yeah, I was just gonna
Roman's
say,
entertaining, so just be there.
yeah. But Steve, so you know, and it is happy Hanukkah, by the way.
Thank you, sir.
Speaking of, you don't think that Paul Heyman wouldn't have negotiated with Roman's new contract to defend this title doesn't include the 30-day clause? I think Paul Heyman had something to do with that.
I mean, that's
why you hire a guy like that.
right. Well,
So maybe he got the 30-day clause completely
but
removed.
they never addressed that. Then that's
didn't.
something
I'm
you
just
should
trying to
address.
help.
But you know what? But that could be like, Heyman could come out and be like, all you think about this 30-day rule. Well, that's why you hire a guy like me, because in this contract,
Right.
I made certain that he defends when he wants to or whatever.
Exactly.
But you don't
yeah.
even address it to make it a part of a story.
don't know,
Instead, he's just on his island of relevancy,
But
and
couldn't
we
he
see
have-
him once every 10 years. I mean, what
But
the
couldn't
fuck?
he have? Could he have a talk show called The Island of Relevancy, just once in a while, and he could
Well,
come
that
out?
would be
he wouldn't-
amazing.
He
You
wouldn't
could
even
have like the
defend belt.
Carlito set up and just have him sitting on a
Exactly.
couch. Yeah.
Right. Or like just have. I would love it if Roman. They
Or
literally just sent
tribal
Roman-
court.
Yeah.
Like do
Yep.
tribal court, or whatever. Like
I want
just
Roman
be there.
Send Roman to Hawaii. Send him on a beach and have him cut a bunch of little promos, sipping coconut drinks and having girls throw flowers on him and shit. And then when he's not around, show those. Roman Reigns is on the Island of Relevancy, and you do a little graphic where a plane flaps and it lands, and he's just chilling on the beach, and he's like, I'm on Tribal Chief time. And he sips his fucking drink, and then you're like, shit, the guy, he's not there again, but at least you saw that he was on the show.
Right.
It
It's
gives you something.
and like on a side note, like outside of like wrestling, right? How
Yeah.
fucking brilliant is Roman Reigns? I mean, let's be honest.
Genius.
The amount of fucking money he's making right now, and he has to work less than part-time.
He gets to raise his kids, making millions.
Making millions.
That's a wrestler.
And he just has
That's
to
crazy.
show up every now and then, and half the time when he shows up, it's just to cut a promo.
And
that's it.
And he stunk for 90% of his career, came back, had a good run of like a year or two, and this 1 year or two has made him so much that he can now, like you said, make millions to kick back and relax. It's impressive.
It is almost making this streak of his irrelevant at this point because he's not defending the title.
Very impressive.
Is in the island of irrelevancy. That's where he's at right now because 11 matches is not going to cut it for a WWE champion.
I'll put it in the best perspective the other day. He goes, John Cena had more matches this year than Roman Reigns has.
Oh,
that's pretty sad.
How fucking crazy is that?
And he's a full-time actor.
Yeah. I know there was a strike, but still, for him to wrestle, that means, and the strike didn't last that long. Well, it lasted long enough for those guys. But what I'm saying is, in the short time in the 2 or 3 months that strike lasted, John Cena wrestled more matches than Roman Reigns did all year.
Right.
So that's even more impressive that it's not. And then I guess you count like WrestleMania and you have 1 or 2 other ones outside of that, I guess. But like, that's wild. How many matches did John Cena wrestle this year?
I don't know, but it was definitely more than 11 because he did house shows.
11 is just a wild number. Like even. Isn't the whole reason you have 2 other guys in your faction so you can have tag matches and like you can stand on the turnbuckle and then when they tag you in, you hit a power bomb or a spear or something and finish the match?
Would make sense.
Just don't know, man. I understand where everybody's coming from on this, and I understand Roman's perspective because he's making the most money for least amount of effort, and that's the American dream right there. Being able to make a lot of money for doing as little work as possible.
John
Wonderful.
Cena had 12 matches this year.
I beat him by 1. Look at that.
He beat him, and the year's not over.
Yeah,
It's
well,
true.
I think John Cena's done right now anyway.
Yeah, it seems like he's done after that. You know, he had commitments to get back to immediately.
But think about it. Roman Reigns, the best he will do is tie him if he wrestles this month.
That's true.
If he wrestles.
Yeah, and that's a big
It's a big if. You're right.
Yeah.
Because Royal Rumble is until January.
Right. And I
Is
feel
there
like
is there a Saudi show coming up?
yeah, I think that's why there's got to be a Saudi show coming up.
I think there is, but then I keep hearing that there's no premium live event until
the Rumble.
The Rumble, so I don't know.
Is that considered a live event? Because that's a pay-per-view.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's still considered a premium live event. I think.
Yeah, they don't call them pay-per-views anymore.
Yeah,
they call them. Well, yeah, I know. I still call them. But they're
I'm stuck in the '90s.
Right.
Good old days.
When you had the pay-per-view, you actually had to pay each individual
per view. Yep.
But yeah, I don't know, man. I think having a champ like it's just frustrating because you want. Here's what happens. Then the narrative starts switching, especially because now, people, the obsession with ratings and attendance and how much money. Like, I never once cared. Nobody ever put out press releases when WWE, like, how many millions of dollars of ticket sales they made. It's just like, yeah, we get it. Like, now it's like every week they're like, we had our best one ever. And it's like, well, there's inflation, motherfucker. Of course you're making more money. Every ticket is like 3 times more expensive as it was 2 years ago. But that's aside from the point. It's just that the conversation is now shifted when you talk about something like Roman Reigns to everybody who watches wrestling thinks they're from goddamn Forbes magazine and they're all financial advisors. And they're like, oh, well, actually, it makes more financial sense for Roman Reigns. Nobody, who cares? Well, they have the most revenue, and Roman Reigns hasn't wrestled, so obviously, who gives a shit? Like, I don't base my enjoyment of a wrestling show on how much money they made or how many ticket sales or what the ratings was. I base my enjoyment on what happens between the ropes when the fucking bell rings and when 2 guys are in the ring having a fucking promo or whatever. You know what the conversation shifts to it being a brilliant business move and all this. So it's just like, I just don't. That's great if if that's how you want to look at it, is like, well, WWE is making all this money and they're they're a monopoly, and if they're making money and obviously if they're making money, they're doing something right. I don't give a fuck. Hey Dante, I think CM Punk and Cody will probably get a title shot the same day.
Actually, that's what I was going to say. I think in the end, it's going to wind up being a triple threat for the title. I think it's going to be Cody, Punk, and Rollins.
Oh, I see. I was thinking it was going to be. Well, now that they've definitively made Punk go towards Rollins, you could be right. I was thinking initially, you do Punk Reigns night 1 and then Cody Reigns night 2. I don't know.
All right, so now let me ask this. And I think said it jokingly last week or the week before, but now I'm kind of asking it seriously.
Logan Paul should beat Roman Reigns at WrestleMania. You're right.
Does Punk get pissed if he's main eventing night 1 and not night 2?
Yes, of course.
That's how he'll get fired this time.
But I don't see him main eventing night 2.
No,
so
he's not going to go around punching people about it, but he's going to be mad. He's going to have to internalize the.
But he has to know that already, right? Like,
right?
Well,
you can't expect.
He said, "I want to main event WrestleMania," meaning he's going after Roman. Maybe that was his clue.
Yeah, because
he said, "I want to main event." Anybody that says, "I want to main event WrestleMania," they're most likely talking about night 2.
I think if Reigns is losing the belt, it's happening at Mania.
It's like whoever. It's night 2. Reigns.
It's got to be night 2.
The only asterisk I'll put on that, Dante, is that if The Rock comes back,
Right.
that is the night 2 main event, and Roman Reigns wins.
Of course.
And they could even do, no, because I was trying to think, does Reigns lose night? If they have Rock on night 2, do you have him lose night 1 so he goes into it without the title?
I don't know, but you know what? This is making kind of like maybe this is how they're looking at it. This is how they're kind of setting it up, right? Like if The Rock is going to be there, then you have that main event. You have Roman Rock main event, right? But if Rock is not, and then if you're doing that, then you have the immediate setup of that triple threat match with Cody, Rollins, and Punk. If Rock isn't going to be there, then you have you're going to somehow, I mean, I would imagine it'll be Cody.
Right.
So there's a lot of avenues this can go, and a lot of it rides on whether or not The Rock is coming or not. Which they may already know that he's not coming if he's not. Like,
can I just point something out, please?
Yeah.
We officially forgot about L.A. Knight. Yeah.
Because that's what happens when you put him against Roman Reigns and they just fucking beats them.
Yep.
This happened to every other guy that Roman Reigns has
You know
done
what though?
business
But this was the fear that we were going to forget about LA Knight, and look at us. We haven't mentioned him once in that
What's he doing though? What does he do? I know he showed up on SmackDown, but what is he doing?
Nothing.
After carrying WWE all year, Rollins has to main event day 2. It's never going to happen.
No.
There's no way Roman doesn't main event night 2. Like, I don't care what they say.
There's no chance.
There's really only one main event, and it's Sunday. That's just how it's been.
The night 1 main event is nice, but it's not the main event.
Right.
It's the halftime. Night 1 is the halftime.
Right? Yeah. Yeah. Oh. No, Rollins cannot main event night 2. That would be silly. But also, Steve, to throw back to you about this Cody thing, if you put him in a triple threat with CM Punk and Rollins, does Cody winning that goofy ass belt from Rollins finish the story? Does him challenging for a belt that's not Roman's diminish? Like, where do you see? What's your take on that?
We kind of talked about this a long time ago, that if Cody,
but now that we're coming towards the actual date, has your opinion changed, or where are we looking at?
No, I still feel the same. I do. I feel it diminishes Cody Rhodes. I think the story has to end with Roman. Otherwise, it diminishes to me. I have to stick with that position. I don't think that's changed for me. I think it's got to be Roman and Cody. If not, then you have to say that the story hasn't finished yet. If you try to have him beat Rollins and he beats Rollins, and then you consider that the end of the story, your story flopped.
Okay.
And then everyone's going to feel about Cody the way they feel about Seth, that he's just a secondary champion. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I could see him trying to spin a thing of like, this belt was designed after the belt that my dad wore, and it's like, all right, we get it, pal.
Right.
So they could try, but I think you're right. I think if it's, I don't know. I think it's also dangerous to put something out there like finish the story and put all this out there, and then like you leave a year for him to cool off, or not that he has, but I'm saying you leave or to get injured again and tear a pec. Like when you say I'm going to finish a story and then you set out to do it, like on the long term, you're really rolling the dice on whether or not the company is still going to feel the same way in a year, whether the fans are going to feel the same way, whether or not The Rock feels the same way.
Yeah.
So this is around the time of year. I think last year, if I'm remembering correctly, Steve, there were reports that they were trying to finalize the main events of WrestleMania before the first of the year, and The Rock had to let them know by like the 30th or the 31st of December whether or not he was going to be at WrestleMania, so that they could then finalize their plans for the Royal Rumble and WrestleMania. Am I somewhere in the ballpark on that?
Yeah, You are. That's the last thing I remember. Whether or not that's changed,
Right.
I haven't heard otherwise, but I do remember that. What do
Oh,
they do
there
with
it is.
the?
That's the answer. If that's
That's.
I don't know who that is. If that's Dante
I
or
think it's
whoever that.
Dante, but that's also now that's also true. Now, what do you do with Viper? Because he's
Well,
also now going after the bloodline. But I could see him being against Solo
yeah,
or
but
something
that's
like
the
that.
answer, Steve. That's the answer. We want a title defense on this fucking show. He can just go out there and beat Orton. He just go beat him. You know what I mean?
Who?
Fuck it. Like Reigns
Roman?
can just beat Orton. Yeah, they can.
Don't talk about
Orton,
Sir Randall that way.
but I'm just saying, if they can, it doesn't matter who they put out there because he's not going to lose. You put him out there
Right.
with Orton.
But
Let him
that,
have a good match.
but that's why you wouldn't put him against Orton right now.
But again, this is the logjam that I'm talking about. Everybody's gunning after the same fucking guy. Like, what are we doing?
Well, that's the other issue now, right? They're flooded with top main event guys right now because everyone's back from their injuries. Everyone's, returned. And now you have a very large pool of sharks and you don't know what to do with them all. It's
And Randy Orton came back 50 pounds heavier. Holy shit.
Randy
He looks huge.
he looks better now than he did in his prime.
100%.
He looks
He looks like
unbelievable.
they put one of those things around his neck and he plows fields like an ox. Like,
I mean, I could see Randy being the guy to dethrone Roman.
No.
I don't know how you get him there,
at
but
Mania?
I'm not saying at Mania. I'm just saying in general.
Oh, okay. I mean, you get him there by winning the Royal Rumble. That's the shortcut. Doesn't matter what brand you're on or anything. You win the Royal Rumble, you pick your spot, and then Big.
I don't know
wins.
what they're gonna do with him because he's obviously feuding with the Bloodline right now. So he's gonna fucking.
He's got to run through the lower guy. He's got to run through.
Well,
Jimmy
Solo's
and
got to
Solo.
be next.
Yeah.
Solo's got to be next, and then I don't know.
Yeah.
Solo might be a Rumble match. They'll build to that.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, that could be.
Well, on that note, ladies and gentlemen, we are at the top of the hour.
Oh
That
my
was quick.
god. This is what we usually get into around this time of year. You know what I mean? Like we're at the point where the direction isn't clear. This is where they're starting to tighten. They tease a lot of things and then they starting to tighten it up as you get into the end of December and the beginning of January. To the point where sometimes it's almost too obvious as to who's winning the Rumble. But I'd rather have that than, just this fucking speculation and logjam. You've got all these WrestleMania main eventers, legit WrestleMania main eventers, Drew, Cody, Orton, Punk can say he didn't main event, but he defended the world title in the third to last match or whatever. Andy fought the Undertaker. So that's kind of you know what I mean? There are guys that and then of course Rollins and Reigns, everybody else. We've got a lot of guys in no direction. And within the next 2 to 3 weeks, I think, that's when we start to see things tighten up. How will the WWE clear up the female division? My solution to all of this shit is consolidate all the singles and tag titles into one set of singles and tag titles and have them defended across every brand. And then your champion gets exposure on every brand. And then if somebody from a different brand wins it, it can stay on that show most of the time. Like, it's just having 3 women's world champions and at least one set of women's tag champions is just like, what the fuck?
I agree.
And I feel the same way about the men's division, dude. I don't like that Roman had a stranglehold on the title. So their idea was just literally to create a new world title out of thin fucking air. I don't like that either. I would rather just have an active champion that is defending the title and is present rather than having to go, well, that's the world champion and that's the other world champion. Because you always have that discussion no matter which belt. Because it wasn't always that the WWE Championship was the most important. There were times where that World Heavyweight Championship, the big gold belt, was the most important champion. Yeah, too much, exactly. Too many titles. So there was always a shift of like, oh, well, when Triple H or Cena had it, that was the important title. When Orton had it, that was the important title. And it could have been the WWE title or it could have been the big gold belt. So now you're at this point where there's one legitimate world championship and one that you look at as lesser than, which is Seth Rollins' championship. Unfortunately, just them's the breaks. It is the way it is. So I don't know. I don't care for it. And I'm 20 years behind the times here. They're not changing. I just don't like the idea of two world champions. It seems unnecessary.
Yeah, I won't argue. I've had enough of it, quite honestly. I agree with you. You can have two separate brands, but you're right. Have your champions go on all the shows, have different challengers. It's
Right.
I agree. And maybe in the new year after Mania,
Well, yeah.
maybe we'll start to see some consolidation and
I hope so, because look what happened. Roman Reigns hasn't left. He's been SmackDown exclusive for 2 or 3 years, and he ran through all the singles guys, and they
Right.
all lost to him, and they all are jabronis now.
Yeah.
Sammy and Kevin are back where they were. Nobody. The only guy that came out of this looking good is Jey Uso.
Yeah.
The only one.
Well, Jey Uso pinned him twice. Keep that in mind.
Right. That's true. He actually
That's
did pin him twice. So I guess that's what he has over those other guys. But even the same thing with Rollins. He didn't even have the championship that long, and it feels like he already beat a bunch of legit guys and has just made them, made those guys by losing go down in the rankings.
Yep.
So
Watered it down. Yep. It's crazy.
It is crazy.
But again, it goes back to what you were saying, right? No stories being developed after a title match. They're just stuck at being their character and nothing else. You don't see, like you said, there's nobody, going after somebody's family or beating up their best friend in the back or, messing their car up or, none of that's going on.
Right.
It's just either title belt or nothing. And outside of Judgment Day, a lot of groups and Damage Control to their right are very lost right now. Outside of the regular groups we always talk about, they're just lost. They're hot for a little bit, but after that they don't know how to rebound. Like LA Knight is staying sort of relevant because he's still getting that pop. I see that pop he still gets, but it's fading. It's definitely fading.
Right.
It's not what it was a few months ago.
Yeah.
They're also not giving him much ring time.
Well, no, it's just matches and that's it.
And run-ins, Yep.
Yeah, literal just run-ins and stuff. Yeah, but that's what happens when you don't. You have a lot of when everybody comes back from injury, Orton and all these guys. The minutes that you use on one person have to be taken from somewhere else. So, automatically, a guy like Randy Orton, as much as you might like LA Knight, even on just a base kind of yes, this makes sense level, you give the minutes to Randy Orton. You know what I mean? It's just one of those things, man. You're budgeting 2 hours worth of time once a week. Are you giving the 5 minutes to Orton or are you giving the 5 minutes to LA Knight? And right now you're giving it to Orton. So he just needs to get back to that point where the fans are because that was part of it. He wasn't getting much time and he maximized his minutes and the crowd wanted to see more and then they gave them more. Now we're kind of back to where not square one, but he's a step back and he needs to kind of regain, like you said, regain that momentum.
And it's so tough when they drop not only a single bomb on you, a double bomb with CM Punk coming into the mix too. It's like,
yeah,
LA who?
Exactly, and it's good that they kept both those guys on separate brands. But even just that, for example, Friday night, the last couple Fridays, you haven't had much room for LA Knight because you've had extended segments with Orton and then extended segments with Punk.
Correct.
That's just where that's where he sits right now. Everybody kind of took a rung down, unless you are Rollins or Reigns, maybe Cody. Everybody else, Nakamura and Drew McIntyre included, took a step down the minute Orton came back and the minute Punk came back. And Judgment Day took a step down. You think?
I have a question. Did
Yeah.
we see Kevin Owens on SmackDown last week? We didn't mention him.
I don't know, because they did this thing where they wrote off. Sammy's taking a vacation, so they wrote him off last week, I guess it
Yeah,
was.
I know he's gone. How about Kevin?
Kevin Owens was not on last week
Mm.
because he's going to be wrestling in the tournament this week, and he quote unquote broke his hand, but he's going to still wrestle the match.
Okay.
All
We'll
right.
see.
Well,
Yeah.
that's a wrap, boys. Top of the hour.
Yes, it is. Oh, thank you guys for tuning in once again. Thank you, Dante and Tara and everybody else that chimed in. David chiming in with your comments. We appreciate it. Definitely help the conversation keep on going. If you have friends that want to hop in the chat, let them know about it. Spread the love. Share the links, whatever platform you're watching on, whether it's Facebook or YouTube or whatever it is, Twitch. Go ahead and share that with your friends. Let them know that if they drop a question or a comment, then we're gonna address it. We're gonna, take into consideration what your opinion is there, and then talk about what you said. So we appreciate the comments and the questions. Keep them rolling in. We stream all over the internet Tuesdays, 9 p.m. Eastern time. We're on YouTube, we're on Facebook, we're on Twitch, we're on Twitter /X, I guess, and we're on Steve's LinkedIn, I believe. We're on a whole bunch of places. The best thing to do is to search our social media, which is at Tag Me a Date, all one word. I was going to start giving the Twitch one out, but I did. At Tag Me a Date. Tag Me a Date, no spaces. It's all one word. You can find, again, that's Instagram, that's TikTok, it's Facebook, it's Twitter, it's our YouTube as well. So you can type Tag Me a Date into the search bar, hit subscribe, and hit the bell. The Twitch is the only different one. It's twitch.tv/War Report, and that's also one word, WARREPORT. You can see the archives and the past shows the last couple weeks or whatever. I think the YouTube has way more archives than the Twitch. I think the Twitch only saves the last couple weeks, but whatever. Either way, you can get the video archives on the YouTube or the Twitch, and you can also tune in live on those platforms. Tune in live on Facebook, tune in live on Twitter, whatever it is that platform you're using. Just make sure you're looking at either at Tag Me a Date on 99% or War Report on Twitch. If you prefer an audio version rather than the video version, just go ahead to your favorite podcast app, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Spotify, Google Play Podcasts, Apple Podcasts. All you got to do is type in the War Report, Tag Me a Date, whatever. It should come up. When you see, if you're searching for just like the War Report Wrestling Podcast, there are two of them. There are two wrestling podcasts named the War Report. Go figure. But we've made it so that the graphic and then the description that are on the podcast page let you know that it's us. It mentions Tag Me a Date. I think it mentions Steve, and it mentions Vince. It might mention Eric, and a couple other people. You know what I mean? It mentions the players of the show. So, and again, the graphic is going to have the Tag Me a Date thing right on there, so you know it's us. And that's about it. You can subscribe, and then within an hour of the show going off the air, we get the podcast uploaded to your app. It gets sent to your device, and then you can take it with you. Play it whenever you want. If you're driving or you're doing laundry or whatever it is that you're doing throughout the day that you need an audio version of the podcast, it's available for you. So that's it. We'll be back next week live on a Tuesday evening, 9 p.m. Eastern time, for another edition of the War Report. Again, we want to thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you, everybody, for the questions and the comments. And again, if you have friends who are wrestling fans looking for something to listen to, looking for a live show to chime in on, let them know. Spread the love. We'll see you next week. Thanks so much for tuning in. Awesome show. Thank you very much. Have a good one.
Heat, heat, heat.